Okay. So today we're going to be diving deep into a really fascinating topic, pop-up bookshops.
Hmm.
So, obviously our listeners are big fans of books, and we also know a lot of you are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So we thought this would be like the perfect kind of crossover where these two worlds collide.
Yeah.
So have you, I mean, I'm sure you
Yeah.
have you ever like stumbled upon one of these, like, you're at a farmer's market or like a little
Oh,
festival,
totally.
and then suddenly there's this like cool little bookshop there
Yeah.
that just like appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah. They're really interesting, right?
Yeah, it's
They're
so,
popping up everywhere, it seems like.
yeah, and it's not just about, browsing shelves. It's like a curated experience.
Like,
Like they've carefully selected these books and, it's like a treasure trove.
it is. It really is. It's like, they're tapping into a couple of this whole like
Yeah.
experience economy where
Mm.
people are looking for something beyond just buying a product. They want that experience.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's this whole support local movement.
Yeah.
So these pop-up bookshops, they're very often featuring local authors and independent publishers.
Yeah, it's so cool.
There's a really nice kind of like, intersection of those two trends.
Yeah, totally. And the fact that it's temporary,
Yeah.
like it's not going to be there next week.
Adds to the appeal.
Yeah, there's like this FOMO.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Creates a sense of urgency.
Yeah, you got to go now or you're going to miss it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, from what I was reading, it seems like they're really strategic about where they pop up.
They are.
They're not just like, oh, let's just set up shop anywhere. There's
No.
like a method to the madness.
There is. There is.
And it seems like they're often targeting areas that might be underserved by traditional bookstores.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So, maybe there's not a bookstore within like 20 miles.
Exactly. Yeah, they're filling a void in a lot of cases.
Yeah. So what are some of the strategies they use to, pinpoint those locations?
Well, I mean, you can think about it almost like they're, book detectives.
Yeah.
They're looking for clues
Okay.
about what the community likes to read,
Mm-hmm.
what they're interested in.
Okay.
They might look at, local library borrowing trends
How interesting.
to see what's popular.
Okay.
They might even do surveys,
Okay.
go out and talk to people and say, hey, what kind of books would you like to see?
So they're really getting into like the granular details of what people are actually reading.
They are, yeah. They're going beyond just demographics
Okay.
and really trying to understand, what are the literary tastes of this particular community.
Right. And then they can tailor their selection to that.
Exactly, yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. And then they often partner with local organizations or businesses,
Okay.
to make sure their pop-up is aligned with the community's interests.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So, if they're doing an event, let's say, focused on local history,
Right.
they might collaborate with the Historical Society.
Right.
Or if they're doing a pop-up at a gardening club,
Yeah.
they might, focus on books about sustainable living and things like that.
That makes a lot of sense. So they're really being very intentional
They are.
about every aspect of it.
Yes.
So, I mean, of course, then there's the whole curating the selection of books,
Right.
which I imagine is like a huge part of the whole thing.
It is.
It's not just like, throwing a bunch of random books together.
No.
It's like an art form.
It's a curated collection.
Right.
And again, they're thinking about the audience.
Yeah.
They might focus on local authors,
Mm-hmm.
independent publishers,
Yeah.
genres that are particularly popular in that region.
Right. Yeah.
They really think it through.
So, like, if they were setting up shop at a farmer's market, you might find, a section on cookbooks with local ingredients or, like, I don't know,
Exactly.
foraging for wild edibles or something.
Foraging. Yeah, absolutely.
Or if they're at a craft fair, they might have books on, like, DIY projects.
Exactly, yeah. Or local, art and design, things like that.
So it's like they're really, like, creating a narrative.
They are, yeah.
With their book selection.
Yeah.
It's like a story that resonates with the event and the community.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so appealing.
Yeah.
It's not just about buying a book. It's about, discovering something new,
Yeah.
connecting with the local culture.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about like the location and the books,
Right.
but what about the actual like logistics of setting up the shop?
Yeah, so, one of the things that's really interesting about this business model is that, it doesn't require a huge investment,
Right.
like a traditional brick and mortar bookstore.
You don't have to sign a lease.
Exactly, you don't need a storefront.
Right.
So they can operate out of all sorts of things.
Okay.
I've seen them in vintage trucks,
Yeah.
repurposed trailers,
Oh, cool.
even like, a stylish tent.
Yeah, one of the sources mentioned like I think it was like an old Airstream trailer.
Oh, wow.
They turned into a pop-up bookshop.
That's awesome.
And then another one was like a double-decker bus.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Just turned into like a mobile library. That's so creative.
It is. It's very creative.
So it's all about being, you know, adaptable
Valuable, yeah.
and thinking outside the box.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, I would imagine like the visual display is so important.
It is, yeah.
You got to draw people in.
You got to make it eye-catching.
Yeah, you're competing with all the other,
All the other sights and sound.
Yeah, at a festival, at a market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's not just about like, stacking books on a table.
What are some of the things they do to make it visually appealing?
Oh, they do all sorts of cool things.
Yeah.
They might create like little cozy reading nooks,
Okay.
with comfy chairs and blankets.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, or they might use, thematic props and decorations to kind of set the mood.
Okay.
They might even have interactive elements,
Like what?
like a chalkboard wall where people can write recommendations,
Oh, cool.
or like a photo booth.
Fun.
Yeah, with like a bookish backdrop.
It's like they're really creating an experience.
They are. It's an immersive experience.
Yeah. So, okay, now here's the thing, right? They're mobile, they're popping up in different places.
Right.
How do people know where to find them?
That's a great question. And that's where social media comes in.
Okay.
It's their secret weapon.
Right.
They're using Instagram, they're using Facebook
Yeah.
to announce their locations,
Yeah.
share sneak peeks of their books,
Oh,
even give people a behind-the-scenes look at how they're setting up.
yeah.
So it really builds anticipation.
Yeah, it creates that buzz.
It does. It does.
Like, oh, I gotta follow them so I know where they're gonna be next.
Exactly. And they also often partner with, local bloggers and influencers
Yeah, of course.
to get the word out.
to spread the love.
Exactly. Yeah. And they might offer discounts or giveaways to their
Oh,
followers.
yeah, that always gets people's attention.
It does. It does.
It's like they're really building a community around their pop-up.
They are. They're fostering a sense of community.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's something that like traditional bookstores, I feel like they struggle with that sometimes.
I think they do, yeah.
Like how do you create that same kind of excitement and engagement
Right.
when you're just in a static location?
Right. And you're competing with Amazon
Right, exactly.
and all the online retailers.
Yeah. So these pop-up bookshops, they seem to have like figured out a way
They have, yeah.
to really connect with people
They have. They've cracked the code.
in a different way.
They have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really impressive to see.
Okay, so we've talked about how they're like marketing savvy,
Mhm.
they're community builders.
Yeah.
But what I'm really intrigued by is how they're like redefining the bookstore experience itself.
Yeah.
Like it's not just about going and buying a book.
It's not. No.
It's something more than that.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And it's almost like they're tapping into this like primal human need
Yeah.
for storytelling and connection.
Totally.
Like it's almost like a modern day version of,
Mhm.
gathering around a campfire and
Right.
sharing tales and ideas.
Yeah. I love that analogy.
Right.
It's really, it's like, it's a space where people can just disconnect
Yeah.
from the digital world and immerse themselves in the joy of reading.
Yeah. And it's not just about nostalgia. It's
Right.
not just about like, oh, remember when it's like they're also innovating in terms of like the types of experiences they offer.
They are. Yeah.
Like, one of the sources mentioned a pop-up that focused exclusively on banned books,
Oh, wow.
which I thought was really cool.
Uh-huh.
It's like sparking conversations about censorship and freedom of expression.
That's awesome.
And then another one partnered with a local animal shelter,
Oh,
and they had, books about animals. They were doing adoption events.
that's
They
great.
even had a read to a dog corner where kids could like practice their reading skills with furry friends.
That's so cool.
I mean, how cute is that?
It is. It is.
So it's like they're going beyond just selling books.
They are. Yeah.
They're using their platform to advocate for important causes
Right.
and engage with the community in a meaningful way.
Exactly. And I think that resonates with people.
Yeah.
Especially these days.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are looking for businesses that align with their values.
Absolutely.
So, it's about creating that sense of purpose and authenticity.
Yeah. And it's not always about like these grand gestures,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like the little things.
Small details.
Yeah, like offering personalized book recommendations or
Yeah.
hosting like intimate author readings.
Right, where you can actually connect with the writer.
Yeah, it's about those like human
It
connections
is, yeah.
that are so often missing in our digital age.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I bet that translates into a loyal customer base.
It does. People are
Yeah.
more likely to support a business
Yeah.
that makes them feel seen and valued.
Yeah, totally.
And that's something these pop-up bookshops do really well.
Okay, so we've talked about how they're redefining the bookstore experience,
Hmm.
but I'm curious about like the financial viability of this. Like,
Yeah.
is it actually sustainable in the long run?
That's a good question, and I think the answer is it depends.
Okay.
Like any business, it requires careful planning,
Right.
budgeting, and you really need to understand your target market.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have some advantages
Yeah.
over traditional bookstores.
Like what?
Well, I mean, their overhead costs are significantly lower
Right.
because they don't have to pay rent for a permanent space.
Yeah, no lease.
No lease, exactly.
And they're mobile.
And they're mobile, so they can, set up shop at different events.
Right, so you're not limited by like
Limited, yeah.
geographical boundaries or a single customer base.
Exactly.
And they can also leverage their online presence, right?
Absolutely.
To generate sales even when they're not like physically at an event.
Yeah. They might do online ordering, pre-sales,
Okay.
even curated subscription boxes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's like they're kind of combining
They are, yeah.
the best of both worlds.
It's a hybrid model.
Yeah, you got the charm of the physical bookstore,
Yeah.
but the reach and convenience of online retail.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah. And I think that could be key to their success.
Yeah.
They're not just competing with traditional bookstores.
Mm-hmm.
They're really carving out their own niche
Yeah.
in this ever-evolving landscape of bookselling.
So it's not just a fleeting trend.
I don't think so.
It's like a potential game changer.
Yeah, I think they're really proving that books are more than just commodities.
Yeah.
They're experiences.
Yeah.
And people are willing to pay for those experiences.
Right.
Especially when they're curated with passion, creativity,
Mm-hmm.
and a deep understanding of the community.
Speaking of the community,
Yeah.
a lot of the sources highlighted how pop-up bookshops are often at the forefront of promoting literacy
They are, yeah.
and a love of reading. So can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, they're not just selling books.
Yeah.
They're creating a culture of reading.
Okay.
They partner with schools and libraries to host book drives, workshops,
Oh, nice.
author visits. They're really bringing books to life.
Yeah, it's like they're planting these seeds of imagination and curiosity
They are.
that will hopefully blossom into a lifelong love of reading.
Yeah, that's beautiful, yeah.
Right. And it's not just targeting kids,
Oh,
right? They're also creating spaces where adults
yeah.
can reconnect with the joy of reading, discover new authors,
Mhm.
engage in conversations about books.
It's almost like a book club
Yeah.
that's open to the whole community.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful, especially in a world where people are increasingly isolated and disconnected.
Yeah, they're creating a sense of community
Yeah.
and belonging,
One book at a time.
one book at a time. That's right.
Yeah. It's like they've really created something special.
They have.
And it makes me wonder, could this pop-up model be applied to other things?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, could we see a surge in pop-up everything?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
Those principles that make pop-up bookshops successful,
Yeah.
that focus on experience, community, curated selections,
Hmm.
that could be translated to a lot of different industries.
Okay, so like, give me some examples.
Okay, well,
I'm already like, my mind is racing with possibilities.
yeah, no, it's exciting.
Like, okay, what about like a pop-up vintage clothing store
Oh, that's a great idea.
that curates collections based on different eras or styles?
Yeah, or a pop-up art gallery that showcases local artists
Yeah,
and maybe even hosts workshops.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, what about like a pop-up plant shop
Oh, I love that.
that specializes in like rare and exotic species?
Yes, and they could offer consultations
Yeah.
on plant care
Yeah.
and host workshops on propagation and urban gardening.
Okay, I'm sold. Sign me up.
Right.
Okay, what about a pop-up coffee shop
Oh, that's a good one.
that travels to different neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Featuring beans from local roasters.
Yeah.
And they could offer like barista demonstrations and tastings.
Well, I love it.
Right. So it seems like the key is identifying a passion or a skill that you can share with others in an experiential way.
It's about creating a story
Yeah.
around your product or service.
Right. It's not just about like,
Yeah.
here's the thing, buy it.
Transactional.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
there's a whole experience wrapped around it.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes it so appealing.
Yeah.
And I think the temporary nature of it
Yes.
is what allows for that creativity and experimentation.
You're not tied down
Yeah.
to a long-term lease.
Right. You're not stuck in one spot.
Exactly.
So you can be more agile, more responsive to the market.
Yeah, it's like a testing ground for ideas.
Yeah.
You can try out different concepts, see what resonates with people, and, refine your approach along the way.
That's really empowering, I think,
It is.
for aspiring entrepreneurs because it takes away some of that fear
It does.
and risk
Yeah,
that's associated with starting a traditional business.
for sure.
So you're like, oh, I could just
Dip your toes in.
dip my toes in, try it out, see if it works.
Exactly.
And if it doesn't, no harm, no foul.
Right. You haven't invested a ton of money.
Exactly.
You haven't signed a 5-year lease.
I love. Okay, so for our listeners who are like,
Yeah.
their minds are blown right now.
Right,
They're like,
yeah.
I want to do this. What advice would you give them?
Okay, so first and foremost, identify your passion.
Okay.
What are you excited to share with the world?
Yeah.
What skills or knowledge do you have
Mm-hmm.
that could be translated into this kind of engaging experience?
Right. And then it's about doing your research, right?
Absolutely.
Understanding your target market,
Yeah.
identifying those locations, those events, crafting that unique selling proposition.
It's all about differentiation.
Yeah.
You got to stand out.
Okay, so we've got the passion, we've done the research.
Yeah.
What's next?
Don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Oh, okay.
Challenge those conventional notions
Yeah.
of what a business can be.
I love that.
Embrace that spirit of innovation
Yes.
and see where it takes you.
And remember, it's flexible, right?
It is.
Like you can start small, test the waters, grow organically.
That's a journey.
Yeah.
It's not a destination.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive
It has.
into the world of pop-up bookshops and beyond.
Absolutely.
We've explored the business model, the community impact, and the potential for this concept to really
Revolutionize.
revolutionize other industries.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this was so fun.
Yeah.
And for our listeners who are feeling inspired
Yeah.
to learn more, we've got a curated list of resources in the show notes,
Yeah.
including examples of successful pop-up businesses, tips for getting started, and articles on the growing trend of experiential retail.
So go out there.
Yeah.
Explore, experiment.
Maybe even launch your own pop-up adventure.
Exactly.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.